Let me ask you a serious question. If I put $500,000 into your bank account today, could you stop working forever? Or would that money quietly disappear over time? Most people think $500,000 means freedom. It doesn't. Not unless you understand how money actually works. I've spent years studying wealth, cash flow, and long-term financial survival. And I'm here to tell you something. Most financial advice never explains clearly. You do not retire on an amount. You retire on a system. Today, I'm going to show you how someone can live off $500,000 in the bank and do nothing else. No business, no job, no side hustle, just smart money decisions, discipline, and a clear plan. And I'll also show you why most people fail when they try. Most people hear the number $500,000 and immediately attach emotion to it. Relief, security, status. They imagine a big house, nicer cars, better vacations, and finally being able to relax. But money does not care about feelings, and the math behind long-term survival is far less forgiving than people expect. $500,000 is not rich money. It is transition money. It gives you options, but it does not give you immunity from bad decisions, inflation, or time. If you take that amount and simply park it in a bank account, the purchasing power starts shrinking the moment inflation does its quiet work. What feels comfortable today slowly becomes insufficient tomorrow. Prices rise, lifestyles adjust, and without realizing it, the same money that once felt abundant begins to feel tight. This is how people with large sums end up stressed again, not because the money disappeared overnight, but because it bled out slowly through normal living. The real danger comes when people treat a lump sum like a replacement for income. They start spending based on how much they have, not on how much the money can safely support. A few years of higher spending does not look dangerous at first. The balance still looks healthy. But over time, the withdrawals compound in the wrong direction. What you remove today is not just gone once, it is gone forever, along with everything it could have produced in the future. Another problem is overconfidence. People assume a large balance means they can afford mistakes. They believe they can always adjust later, but markets do not move in straight lines, and life does not ask for permission before expenses show up. Medical costs, family obligations, emergencies, and economic downturns all arrive without warning. When the money is not structured correctly, those moments force bad decisions at the worst possible time. $500,000 can absolutely support a long, stable life, but only when it is respected for what it is. It is not a finish line. It is a fragile engine that must be protected if it is expected to run for decades. The moment you see it as unlimited freedom instead of limited fuel, you start moving toward running out. Wealth is not about how much you have in one moment. It is about how long your money can keep you alive without your help. The idea of doing nothing sounds attractive, but in finance, doing nothing does not mean having no rules. It means following one rule so strictly that the money is allowed to do its job without interference. That rule is simple, but emotionally difficult. You do not touch the core amount. The principle is not your spending money. It is the machine that creates your spending money. The moment you start dipping into it for comfort, convenience, or impatience, the entire plan starts to break down. People underestimate how powerful this rule is because they focus on what they are giving up instead of what they are protecting. When the principle stays intact, it keeps producing year after year. It does not get tired, it does not ask for raises, and it does not care about your mood. But once you reduce it, even slightly, you permanently lower its ability to support you. That reduction compounds quietly. You may not feel the damage immediately, but over time, it shows up as tighter budgets, rising stress, and fewer options. The hardest part is psychological. Seeing a large balance creates a false sense of permission. The mind starts justifying exceptions. Just this once. I will replace it later. I deserve this after working so hard. Those small breaches feel harmless, but they change your relationship with the money. What was once protected becomes negotiable. And once it is negotiable, it is only a matter of time before it is consumed. Living off what the money produces forces discipline, but it also creates clarity. You know exactly what your limits are, and those limits protect you from yourself. Instead of guessing how long the money will last, you design your life around what it can sustainably support. That shift removes anxiety because the future stops being a question mark. The income becomes predictable, and predictability is what makes true financial peace possible. This rule is what separates people who remain financially free from those who slowly slide back into dependence. The difference is not intelligence or luck. It is respect for the boundary between capital and income. When that boundary is honored, doing nothing becomes safe. When it is crossed, even the largest balance eventually collapses. The money does not fail people. People fail the rule. Most people never think about how much they are pulling from their money each year. They focus on whether the balance still looks large, not on the rate at which it is being drained. That is a dangerous blind spot. The speed of withdrawal matters more than the starting amount. Two people can begin with the same $500,000, make similar choices, and end up in completely different places simply because one took too much too soon. When withdrawals are modest, the money has room to breathe. It can recover from bad years, absorb economic shocks, and continue producing. When withdrawals are aggressive, the money is constantly under pressure. Even normal market fluctuations become dangerous because the account does not have time to rebuild. Losses lock in, growth disappears, and what looked like steady income turns into a countdown clock. The real problem is that excessive spending does not feel reckless in the moment. Pulling a little more each year seems harmless, especially when the balance is still six figures. But compounding works both ways. Just as growth accelerates when money is left alone, depletion accelerates when withdrawals are too high. Over time, the gap between a sustainable approach and a risky one becomes massive, even though the difference started small. Another factor people ignore is sequence risk. Bad years early on cause far more damage than bad years later. If the market drops while you are pulling too much out, you are selling from a weakened position. That loss never gets the chance to recover. It permanently reduces future income potential. This is why people are often shocked when their money runs out faster than expected. The math was never on their side. Safe withdrawal is not about fear. It is about survival over time. It is the difference between income that lasts and income that slowly self-destructs. When withdrawals are controlled, the money adapts to uncertainty. When they are not, every unexpected expense becomes a threat. The tragedy is that people usually realize this too late. They notice when the balance is already shrinking faster than planned. At that point, adjustments feel painful, and stress replaces confidence. The money becomes something to worry about instead of something that supports life. A sustainable withdrawal rate is not conservative. It is what makes long-term freedom possible, without constant anxiety or regret. Where the money lives matters just as much as how much there is. Many people believe that if the balance is large, the location is irrelevant. That assumption is costly. Money sitting in the wrong place either does nothing or exposes you to risks you did not sign up for. Stability is not accidental. It is created by choosing environments where money behaves predictably, even when the world does not. Keeping everything in a single place feels simple, but simplicity can hide fragility. A bank account feels safe, yet over time, inflation quietly erodes its value. On the other hand, chasing high returns introduces volatility that can turn normal living expenses into stressful decisions. The goal is not excitement. The goal is reliability. Income that arrives consistently matters far more than impressive percentages on paper. Each type of financial home has a different role. Some protect capital. Some generate steady income. Some provide flexibility during uncertain periods. When these roles are balanced, the money can support life without demanding constant attention. When they are not, one bad year can undo years of discipline. This is why people with the same amount of money experience completely different outcomes. It is not luck. It is structure. Another overlooked issue is access. Money that is too locked away creates pressure during emergencies. Money that is too accessible invites impulsive decisions. The right structure removes both extremes. It gives you enough liquidity to handle real life while keeping the core protected from emotional spending. That balance is what allows someone to truly do nothing and still feel in control. Risk is often misunderstood. Many assume risk only means losing money. In reality, risk also means not being able to produce income when you need it. Assets that fluctuate wildly can force withdrawals at the worst times. Assets that are too conservative may fail to keep up with rising costs. The art is not avoiding risk entirely, but choosing risks that align with long-term survival. When money is placed intentionally, it becomes boring in the best possible way. Boring money does not demand daily decisions or constant monitoring. It quietly works in the background. That is what financial independence actually looks like. Not flashy trades or perfect timing, but money positioned so well that life can move forward without financial drama. Most people believe financial freedom comes from earning more. They chase higher income, bigger returns, and larger balances, assuming that once the number is high enough, peace will follow. What they rarely realize is that income alone does not create freedom. Lifestyle does. Two people can live on the same amount of money, yet one feels trapped while the other feels completely at ease. The difference is not how much comes in, but how life is designed around it. Expenses have a way of expanding to meet expectations. When income rises, spending often rises with it, quietly and automatically. Nicer housing, more convenience, more commitments. None of it feels irresponsible on its own, but together they create a life that requires constant cash flow. That kind of life does not care how much you have saved. It demands ongoing effort. This is why high earners often feel just as stressed as those earning far less. Lifestyle design flips the equation. Instead of asking how much money is needed to support a certain lifestyle, it asks what kind of lifestyle allows money to last. Small decisions compound here as well. Where you live, how you move, how often you upgrade, and what you consider normal all shape your long-term financial reality. These choices matter far more than squeezing out an extra percentage of return. Location alone can change everything. The cost of daily life, healthcare, transportation, and even social pressure varies dramatically. A modest lifestyle in the right environment can feel rich, while an expensive one in the wrong place can feel suffocating. This is not about deprivation. It is about alignment. When spending matches what your money can comfortably support, stress disappears. Another overlooked factor is time. A simpler lifestyle returns time, energy, and flexibility. It reduces the need for constant optimization and side income. That space is what allows someone to truly step back. When life is expensive, money becomes a leash. When life is intentionally designed, money becomes a tool. Financial independence is rarely lost through one big mistake. It is usually eroded by a series of small lifestyle choices that feel reasonable in isolation. Designing life with intention protects against that erosion. It allows $500,000 to feel stable instead of fragile. Not because the number is large, but because the life built around it does not constantly demand more. When people receive a large lump sum, the most dangerous thing that happens is not spending. It is the mental shift that turns that money into a paycheck. The balance looks large, so the mind assumes it can be used the same way monthly income is used. Bills, upgrades, comfort, and occasional splurges all start pulling from it. On the surface, nothing seems wrong because the account still looks healthy. But beneath that comfort, the foundation is being quietly weakened. A paycheck is renewable. A lump sum is not. That difference sounds obvious, yet it is where most financial plans fail. When income arrives regularly, mistakes can be corrected over time. With a lump sum, every mistake is permanent. Once money leaves the account, it does not regenerate unless the system around it is designed to replace it. Treating a one-time amount like a salary creates the illusion of stability while accelerating depletion. This mistake is often reinforced by early success. The first few years feel easy. The money covers expenses without resistance, and life feels smoother. This is where false confidence sets in. People believe they have figured it out, when in reality they are simply early in the process. The danger does not show up immediately. It shows up later, when flexibility is gone and adjustments become painful. Another layer of risk comes from unpredictability. Life does not move in straight lines. Health issues, family responsibilities, and economic shifts arrive without warning. When the lump sum has already been treated as income, there is no buffer left to absorb shocks. What once felt like security becomes a source of pressure. Decisions are then driven by fear instead of strategy. The irony is that this mistake often comes from a desire for normalcy. People want the money to feel familiar. They want it to replace work without changing habits. But financial independence requires a different mindset. The money must be seen as a resource that needs protection, not consumption. Without that shift, even a large amount slowly loses its power. Those who preserve their wealth understand this distinction early. They separate living money from stored value in their minds. One is meant to flow. The other is meant to endure. When that line is clear, the money lasts. When it is blurred, time becomes the enemy. The difference between lasting freedom and eventual stress is rarely the size of the lump sum. It is how it is mentally categorized and treated from day one. Let me leave you with this final thought. Financial freedom is not a fantasy reserved for the lucky or the wealthy. It is a result of understanding limits, respecting structure, and having the patience to let money do its work. $500,000 is not a magic number. In the wrong hands, it disappears. In the right system, it lasts longer than most careers. The people who succeed are not the ones who chase more. They are the ones who protect what they already have. They do not rely on hope, market timing, or constant activity. They rely on discipline, clarity, and decisions that hold up over decades, not just months. That is what allows someone to truly step back without fear. If you remember anything from today, remember this: wealth is not about how fast you can spend. It is about how slowly you can remove money while still living well. When you respect that balance, money stops controlling your choices. It starts supporting them. Financial independence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need constant attention. It simply works. And when your money is structured correctly, protected carefully, and treated with respect, it gives you the most valuable return of all: time. Time to live life on your terms, without pressure, without panic, and without regret.